What happened when my mom demanded 24/7 access to my phone? I was 17 and my mom had always been the cool parent. She never questioned where I was going or who I was hanging out with. But when I started dating my boyfriend Tyler, everything changed. Suddenly, every text I sent was dangerous and every app I used was a threat to my safety. She'd make comments like, "You're spending too much time on that thing," or "I need to know what you're doing online." The trust we'd built over 17 years was cracking. One night after she caught me texting Tyler at 11 p.m., she sat me down at the kitchen table with her arms crossed. "I want full access to your phone. Password, apps, everything. For safety reasons." I stared at her like she'd grown a second head. "Are you serious right now?" I asked. She nodded, completely stone-faced. "If you want to keep living under my roof and using the phone I pay for, then yes." I thought about it for a minute. Then I had an idea that would either backfire completely or teach her a lesson she'd never forget. "Fine," I said, "but if I'm giving you total access to my phone, you have to do the same. Your phone, your apps, your messages, everything." I expected her to laugh it off or say no way. Instead, she just shrugged. "Deal. I have nothing to hide." So we swapped passwords that night. She immediately started going through my texts while I sat there watching her read every conversation I'd had with Tyler about homework and weekend plans. Meanwhile, I picked up her phone and started scrolling. At first, it was just normal mom stuff. Texts with her sister about work drama, photos of dinner she'd made, group chats with other parents complaining about their teenagers. I almost felt bad for invading her privacy like this. But then, I opened her contacts and saw a name that made my stomach drop. John, work, with a little heart emoji next to it. That was weird, because my mom worked from home and barely talked to anyone from her company. I clicked on their conversation and immediately wished I hadn't. The messages went back almost 3 years. They weren't work-related at all. They were talking about meeting up for dinner, planning hotel stays, sending each other good morning texts that were way too intimate for coworkers. My hands were shaking as I scrolled up to see when these messages started. My parents got divorced 2 years ago, but these texts began a full year before they even started fighting. She'd been cheating on my dad the entire last year of their marriage. I sat there reading message after message while my mom was still going through my phone like some kind of detective. She kept making little disapproving sounds at perfectly normal teenage conversations. Then I saw a message from just last month where this John guy was asking if she'd told me and my little sister about him yet. My mom had replied, "Not yet, the girls are still adjusting to the divorce." I felt sick. All those times my mom had talked about how my dad grew distant and stopped trying. All those conversations where she painted herself as the victim who just wanted to save their marriage. It was all complete bullshit. She'd been planning her escape route while my dad was working extra shifts to pay for our family vacation. "Mom," I said, holding up her phone. "Who's John?" The color drained from her face so fast I thought she might pass out. She tried to grab the phone from me, but I pulled it back. "You shouldn't be snooping through my personal messages," she said, but her voice was shaking. "Personal messages?" I stood up from the table. "You mean like the ones where you're making hotel reservations while you were still married to dad?" She started crying then, but not the sad kind of crying. The angry, caught kind where someone knows they're busted and can't figure out how to spin it. "You don't understand what your father put me through," she said. "I was lonely, and John was just emotional support." Emotional support? I was yelling now, which I never did. "Mom, you were planning weekend trips with this guy while dad was working 60-hour weeks to pay for my braces." She tried every excuse in the book. It wasn't physical at first. Dad had checked out of the marriage years ago. I was too young to understand adult relationships, but I wasn't buying any of it. "I gave you access to my phone," I said. "This is what you wanted." Total honesty, right? That shut her up real quick. The next morning, she stopped checking my phone completely. She'd leave it sitting on the counter without even looking at it, but I couldn't unsee what I'd found. Every time she talked about the divorce or complained about my dad, I just thought about those messages. For the rest of high school, we barely talked about anything real. She'd try to go back to being the cool mom, asking about Tyler, or offering to drive me places, but it felt fake now, like she was performing instead of actually caring.